Hello everyone, I'm here with my good friend Josh Kennan to help me make my video for the World Figure Skating Championships. This is going to be kind of a preview predictions video and I'm just so excited.
And I'm Josh, the aforementioned friend of Justin. Thank you so much just for giving me this opportunity just to get my views out there, and thanks for having confidence in me.
Yeah, no problem. Everybody is so excited to finally hear from you in a video because you're so knowledgeable about the sport and so many people respect your opinion. So it's such an honor to have you on one of my blog videos.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, so let's just get right into it.
Yeah, let's jump right in.
Josh, I want to know, what are your predictions for the ladies' discipline at Boston?
Well, I kind of took the time before we knew that we were going to do this to kind of parse it down to the major contenders, the skaters that I feel have the best chance of getting into that final group at Worlds, because we know that getting into that final group is pretty much key. There's not going to be, even in this system, there's not going to be anybody from probably 10th or 12th place coming and getting into the medals. It's really key to get into that final six. So I just kind of took each discipline and thought about who's been getting the best scores and who's been having the best seasons to try and get that impression. Mm-hmm. First, for the ladies, you have to go with Evgenia Medvedeva, the Russian wonder kid, I call her. She's such an automaton. She's almost robotic in the way that she's been able to deliver technically. She hasn't had too many problems. She does sometimes, that final double axel in her free skate has been a little problematic. But her technical base value, she has such a lead in that. I kind of looked back in the marks, and it seems like it's like almost a 4 or 5 point edge just in base value that she has over the rest of the field. So when you parse that out with GOE, if she does really well, she can probably have at least a 1 mistake cushion on everybody else. She could make 1 mistake and still win, while the others would have to skate pretty bang on perfect. Second for me would be Satoko Miyahara of Japan. I'm just in love with her programs this season. Her river dance short program, the flamenco. I just think
isn't river dance Rika Hongo?
Well. Okay, it's a flamenco number, but it actually comes from the original Riverdance production, which I'm not sure a lot of people know. But
you're so smart.
Oh, thank you. But anyway, I love that flamenco number for her. She has so many moments in it where she just gives a little look, or she inflects her arms in the flamenco style that really, I think, drive it home for me. I think really it's enabled the judges to really connect and audiences to really connect to it. And her free skate, the Unsuspiro from Liszt, is as a person that spent most of my early life in piano lessons, I know I've gotten to love some classical composers and their music, and this is one of my personal favorite pieces. It just always really speaks to me how lyrical and how flowy it is with the piano, and I think that just really lends itself to her style, and I think that also really connects with her artistry, and it paints a perfect picture when she lands everything. As we've seen, the judges tend to be a bit temperamental with her. When she doesn't land everything. She's had a couple of little technical yips here and there. And also, it's a little bit distressing to me. Satoko, to me, is a pretty consistent, at least 8th level skater on PCS. When she does really super well, I think she absolutely deserves 9s. She deserves to be with that elite group of ladies that can get 9s for the medals. But I've noticed, even when she skates very, very well, the judges tend not to reward her on PCS. That's really a bone of contention, especially like in her transitions and her skating skills, and even in her choreography and in interpretation marks. Excuse me. I noticed that some judges don't tend to reward her. Her marks can be anywhere from the low 9s all the way up to the upper 7s for a clean performance. That's a pretty wide range in this system, and it shows that not all the judges are on board with her. And I don't know if that's a reflection of them not being convinced with the way she skates, because she is very tiny. She's probably 4'10" or 4'11", probably not even 5 feet tall. And I feel like the judges hold that against her. And it's not any reflection on, it's not her fault. I mean, she's only working with what she can work with. I feel that she beautifully fills out the rink. I feel her artistry, even through just a computer connection. I can feel what she's trying to lay out there. But for some reason, maybe it's something in the rink that us is, not being able to be there in the rink with her, you don't get a sense of how her speed compares to other people. So maybe they're holding that against her.
I think it's because her jumps are tiny.
Her jumps are tiny, but they're usually pretty solid and pretty around. She doesn't have the tendency to get scoped for under rotations or downgrades as much as some others. But I think that's going to be a really interesting sort of thing to watch for between the two of them, her and Evgenia. Who can really get the GOE on their jumps and get the judges to really give them the big marks in that way. My third skater to watch out for in the final group is probably out of left field for most people, considering how she's skated most of the year, but it's Anna Pogorilaya. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And do we know, is she going to Worlds for sure?
I don't think that's been decided yet. I think.
Okay. I personally think she's going to Worlds, but there's no official statement or anything.
I don't think that there's any real alternative that the Russians can slot in there. There's any kind of baby ballerinas that they could probably put in there, but she still has some clout. But I haven't heard that she's really going. I don't know if that decision has been made yet. I think that she has the style. She has, the technical difficulty to put her up with the top ladies. The thing that she doesn't have is the record of consistency that lets the judges give their big marks in confidence that she'll be able to produce in the moment. I mean, we've seen this whole year. She'll have a great skate and a horrible skate, a great skate, horrible skate.
With horrible falls. Ouch.
Yes, with those horrible, almost barrel roll falls that just kind of make your eyes bug out. And like, what in the world are you doing? Do you even know? I remember I read an interview not too terribly long ago. I think it was in one of the Russian media that was translated into English, so some of this might be off, but apparently she was never taught the proper way to fall.
Okay, well that would make sense. So
that's why when she falls, she just goes splat. And I just thought, wow, she has such talent, but if she produces one of those skates again like she did, in I think Cup of China, I think it was, where she just has those splayed out falls, and she's not going to get, the huge marks. That's going to really hurt her in the eyes of the judges.
Yeah, and those kind of falls, it almost seems like they're difficult to recover from.
Yeah.
So it's not a quick up and you can land everything else. She usually follows it up with another
especially
mistake.
With her, she's a very mentally susceptible skater, I think. She doesn't have the ability to, once a mistake does happen, to really, just say, okay, that happened. I need to focus on, zero in on the next thing, put the blinders on and just go. She lets it affect often, the rest of her performance.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see if she, has kind of found that balance, that magic, where she can still do the technique, in the pressure moment, and produce,
Yeah. You make a good
and
point.
still have the artistic freedom.
Yeah, so when she's off because of a fall, even her spins tend to be off. Like she'll lose the centering, which is unfortunate
Hmm.
because she gets the gorgeous positions. But
Yeah,
yeah, she needs to hold it together mentally
yeah,
if she makes a mistake, which is not her strong point. So
no,
that
definitely
is
not.
kind of a left field for you.
Yeah. Um, my fourth pick for the ladies' final group that we need to watch for is, and some may eye roll, but it's Elena Radionova, the other Russian.
Yeah. I see her
And
making the final group.
yeah, I think she gets credit, for her technical ability, which she absolutely should. And I think that'll really stand her in good stead. I mean, she has the hard combinations. She and Medvedeva both are kind of guilty of doing the backloading, where they backload their programs. Because everything after the second half of the program is worth an additional 10%. A lot of skaters like to do that nowadays, but she and Medvedeva are kind of serial offenders in that way. Uh, she also tends to do not as much as Medvedeva, but she does the Tano jumps some. And I just think that um, it's gonna be really interesting for her. Can she go clean? Because we've also seen with her sometimes with her, especially her triple loop, she kind of just tries to arm it and just tries to do it from the upper body, but you really need the legs. And I just it's going to be really interesting to see whether she can stay consistent, where she can avoid the big mistakes, because especially against Medvedeva has been so robotic consistent for the most part this whole year, and plus she's already got a technical advantage of probably at least a couple of points on base value,
Mhm.
and she gets better GOE. For Elena, yes, GOE especially on her jumps is going to be really something. She needs to have great flow out and great, from the takeoff to the landing. She's got to have everything on point to be able to just stay with, especially Medvedeva.
Mhm.
That's going to be really interesting to see. My next two picks to round out the top
Mhm.
six. I'm going to say them in tandem because they're both from the same country. Gracie and Ashley, Gracie Gold and Ashley Wagner. I think definitely, if they skate anywhere like we know that they can, and we've seen glimpses of it from both of them, but unfortunately for both of them, we've also seen, they'll have a good segment of the competition, and then they'll have a bad
It
segment.
happens way too
Yeah, it
often.
happens way too often. For Ashley, she'll struggle in the short program, but she'll have a great long. And for Gracie, it's almost the opposite. She'll have a pretty good short, then in the long, she'll just donate, a couple of silly airs, or, have even bad skates, or have one good skate and then one bad skate. I think for them, it's just not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's relying on their technique, training their programs so that they know that in the moment when the pressure is down, they can do it.
I'm not sure if training is the issue though.
Yeah, well, it's been interesting. I mean, for Gracie, I don't think it's training
Mhm.
at all. I think it's definitely more mental for her.
Mhm.
For Ashley, I don't know. There have been stories that maybe she's not, the hardest worker in the world, in training all the time. She'll do like her run throughs, but maybe like off ice, it'll be a little bit off, but you know, and sometimes she's 25 now. Does she really have the motivation to keep going at it for the next couple of years with all of
Mhm.
these baby Bellas that are like 7, 8 years younger. I personally, think that she can absolutely hang with these ladies, these younger girls. We've seen it. She knows how to do
For
these
sure.
jumps. Yeah, she needs the confidence, and she needs to do what she does, as best as she can do, because technically she's not quite up to the top level ladies in technical baseball. I think she has something. Let's see. Well, they're kind of Gracie and Ashley are kind of behind the 8 ball because they've got like a 10 to 20 point deficit in total score right now. To the top levels like Evgenia and Satoko, but they haven't really had 2 segments clean. A clean performance in both segments. You really need to do that to get the huge top scores. And if they do that, they'll be right up there. There's no question that they can be right up there. Their base values are pretty similar to the top ladies, and and we've seen when they both get a head of steam under them and get really confident, especially in the free skate. Gracie with her Firebird, and Ashley, with her the show must go on, and all of that.
Hey, so I have a question for you. So you think those 2 Americans are going to make the final group? What do you think their final standings will be? How do you think they'll do?
That is really interesting. I was kind of just.
Or are you trying not to make a prediction there?
I try not to make predictions because personally, I have this thing about if I make predictions, then it won't. It surely won't go that way. But personally, I think that they absolutely can medal. They, either one or both of them can. Because I think their top best is better than, say, Pogorilaya's top best. Now, Anna Pogorilaya's top best score this season was in the 200s, but it was in that Mordovian ornament event in Russia, which I tend to discount because, well, it's a Russian event, and all the scores at that event were a little bit high. But I think if Gracie and Ashley both skate their best, they can definitely both be in that top 3, top 4 group. I don't know if they can, ascend to, the top level. It would probably take Evgenia and Satoko, just having messy skates for it to happen. It could still happen, but I tend to think that, third, fourth, one getting on the podium. Gracie, I think, would have the advantage in technical to get on the podium, and also probably in reputation right now. To be the one that would medal over Ashley if you had to pick between the 2 of them. Ashley, I think, would need some help from others, mistakes to kind of keep her in there.
That's right. So you got your final group. My predictions are not far off from yours. I said gold, whether I want it to happen or not. Evgenia, I mean, I think she has one of the best chances to win the competition just based off of her track record this season, winning everything except for Rostelecom Cup to Elena Radionova. Now, she doesn't always skate perfect, but that doesn't keep her from winning events, which is interesting, because we've seen her fall on her double axel, both in the short and in the long program this season. But I think her second mark obviously is padded way too much for my liking. And whether we want it to happen at Worlds or not, I think it will. But so I'm saying Evgenia. I also said Satoko Miyahara for the silver medal just because she's so consistent. I don't see that going away anytime soon. I think she's also on the rise. She's had two good competitions underneath her belt, Japanese nationals and 4 continents. So she's going to ride that wave. Unfortunately, I don't think being consistent will be enough for her to beat Evgenia. You talked about the deficit in both technical and, the program component. So that's unfortunate. But I don't expect a meltdown from Satoko or Evgenia, so I'm going to place her in silver. And then I actually cannot decide who will get the bronze medal. So in my notes here, I wrote down battle for the bronze. And the most likely I put was Elena Radionova. Now, she's not stylistically my type, but she does know how to earn the points. You said it too. If she loses points on anything, it's usually on GOE because she can fight those landings. She can, she doesn't always get the carrots.
Yeah, she doesn't always get the carrots. But quite often, her problem is that her landings aren't the prettiest. She'll grind to a halt. She doesn't have the best speed. She'll be a little weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. Kind of in that. That's going to be really, really key between her and like the battle with like Anna or even Gracie and Ashley to see who gets that bronze medal. But I think the cleanest wins in that.
Yeah, but when Elena falls, the judges don't hold her up the same way they do with Evgenia. So that's why I have her in third. Let's see, the second best option for the bronze medal, I put Mao Asada. Now, she has not had the best result for her comeback season. I know you left her out of your predictions for the final group, but I think she could still make a comeback. I think she's hoping to peak at Worlds. I don't think she can win or even get silver. The triple axel the triple axel is not the biggest problem this season for her. It's been popping the Lutz in the short, and she's also made mistakes in the long program as well. So it's going to be tough, but she does have that second mark to kind of like keep her in the mix, I believe. But the judges aren't just rewarding her for that, which we've seen.
Yeah, actually, Mao was sort of like my next choice. Okay. If 6 could be 7, I would put Mao in there. Absolutely. I mean, she's won everything there is to win. We know that she has the technique. Usually, on the jumps, she has the difficulty. She has the beautiful artistry. Her Madame Butterfly free skate this year is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, when she stepped out on that ice at Japan Open this October, and and we all saw that dress for that first time, I literally gasped. I just thought it was so beautiful and so perfect. And then she skated, she skated away with it beautifully. And then she's kind of had, she was on the top of the hill there. She's kind of had a bit of a dip since. But usually with Mao, she skates better towards the end of the season than she does usually in the middle. So I think it would be very dangerous for the other ladies to just discount her and say that she's not going to be a factor. Absolutely, Mao's going to be a factor. And whether the judges will reward her or not, that's going to be the main thing.
That's true. And then next to my predictions, I just put Gracie and Ashley together, just as you did. And next to both of them, I said big question mark. Because you discussed it all. I don't need to say anything further. They just need to skate clean. And Ashley, I really want that short program to be amazing. I'll be there live. And so I really want to see it clean in Boston. I don't know why I put it in my notes. So both of them just need to skate clean. Then they have the ability to be in the bronze medal contention. But they need to be perfect. Ashley probably needs to rely on mistakes from others more than Gracie. But I don't know why. I actually think Gracie Gold will be a head case in Boston as well. I know some other people were saying that she has like a good competition, bad competition, good. So it's like rotates. And 4 continents was a bad one for her. So World should be a good one. I'm not feeling that for some reason. So I anticipate Ashley placing higher. I think if both are perfect, Gracie could even be the silver medalist over Satoko with rewarded PCS.
That could definitely happen.
I don't see that Gracie showing up to Boston, so I'm going with Ashley, Team Ashley on this one. But I'm not worried about us losing 3 spots. I think we should be good.
I think that we're a pretty good bet to be at least worst case scenario. I think we're 5-6, and 5-6, 5th, 6th will get us 3 spots. And I think we're 3rd, 6th. If we absolutely have disasters, of course, anything could happen. But I think we're pretty good.
For sure. All right, so that was pretty exciting. Let's move on to the men's. Take it away.
All right. Well, my first pick is, of course, not going to be a big surprise. Yuzuru Hanyu, Japan. I mean, that Seimei free skate is it's a revelation. I mean, the amazing thing about it for me is it's like an epic. It's like a visual representation of sort of like an epic novel that you would read of Japanese history or something. I think he said interviews where he kind of views it that way. His four quads, it's mind blowing the technical level that he's gone to.
You know what I put in my notes? I said, no question about it, Yuzuru will win. The question is, will he break another record? Because he's just that
at this
good.
point, I mean, yeah, he's that good. I mean, he has, I wrote it down, he has like almost a 28-point advantage, in season's best over Javier.
That's ridiculous.
It's a ridiculous amount. I mean, that's probably he could afford to fall at least twice, maybe even 3 times before Javier would even be in the discussion. That's unheard of. I mean, the level that he's taken this competition to, and
even if Yuzuru falls, he'll get the rotation on his quads, so he wins points that way as well.
Yeah, he's not usually subject to under rotations. My next pick is, of course, Javier Fernandez.
Mine too.
I kind of noticed that he also kind of seems to have advantage to the rest of the pack of about like a one fall cushion because of his technical. I mean, he's doing 3 quads pretty consistently. Sometimes he has an issue with maybe one of them in the program. He very rarely does all 3 perfect, which is just an issue if he wants to to bridge the gap to Yuzu. But I love his programs. I love his style. I do have to admit I get a little tired of like the comedy. He keeps doing comedic level programs, and I wish they would explore other avenues, other artistic directions. At some point, maybe that's his failing, maybe it's his coaching team's failing. I don't know what it is. Maybe he just doesn't feel like he can go in any other direction. I don't know what it is, but I think that's the one thing that holds him back from being taken real seriously in that rivalry with Yuzu. My third pick is, well, it's probably not a surprise to anybody. It's Patrick Chan. He's had that layoff, for a year where he wasn't around, and then through the fall he was, a bit inconsistent, and people were kind of wondering, would the Patrick of old, come back and be able to contend? And then at 4 continents, he was sort of down and out in the short program, but then he delivered that amazingly beautiful, Chopin free skate, where he was just completely on. His GOE was off the charts on all of his jumps. I don't even think he got any negatives at all, and maybe hardly any zeros, which is very difficult to do. And he pulled the win out over Boyang.
He's that good of a skater.
Yeah,
his protocols look amazing.
There's no question. Yeah, there's no question. If he skates anywhere close to perfect, the judges are going to give him the marks. That's just the way it is. Whether you like him or not, because his personality in interviews sometimes can be a little brash and a little cold, but he's going to be up there if he delivers on the marks. On the technical side. My fourth pick for the final group would be Boyang Jin. I think
4th. Whoa.
Yeah, I know. But you have to remember in this system, it's the technical side is probably, the judges give it more weight probably than they even should, which is why we've seen the marks go just completely skyward. He's doing 4 quads in the free and probably 2 in the short, 6 overall. That's a lot of tech base value, even starting before you consider GOE. and so he's going to be right up there, as long as he, relatively, makes most of his landings on that. The one thing that holds him back, of course, is the PCS. He doesn't have the line, the extension on his landings, the flow into and out of his jumps or across the ice. He doesn't have, in my eyes, very much artistic development in between the jumps. He's not doing, very much to emphasize the character of the music from one thing to the next. He just kind of skates from, one thing to the next.
Yeah, I haven't been fifth in my predictions because I made a note that towards the second half of his long program, his landings get kind of wonky with all that tech. So I see a lot of minus GOEs in the second half of that long program. I see that happening at Worlds too.
Okay, my fifth pick would be Shoma Uno of Japan. I love his style, and he's got a little bit of kind of like youthful spunk, where he feels, I guess, he kind of gives off that projection that he feels he really should be at the top level, whether he really should be right now or not. He has all the talent in the world, but sometimes I think that exuberance kind of betrays him a little bit. He'll get going like really fast, and he'll just rail off, one jump after another, and then like all of a sudden maybe he's like too amped up because it's going so well, and then the technique just kind of all of a sudden goes, and then he'll throw in he'll donate a mistake kind of out of nowhere, and then that kind of it destroys the feeling of the program, and even though he tends to get it back after that, kind of the spell that the spell that a clean skate can have over an audience is kind of damaged at that point, and his marks don't kind of reflect what I think they could be if he was completely perfect. Let's see. He just needs to learn, the control of his landings, because quite often, especially on the triple axel, it's so swingy. When he lands, and it's beautiful in one way, but there's kind of a line where it stops being beautiful, and then it kind of doesn't show that he has the level of control that I think the judges expect you to show to get really high, GOE, those plus twos, plus threes. I've noticed he kind of tends to get more plus ones, plus twos.
And his landings, his knees are usually really low. Is that like something negative? Because I think it's beautiful to look at. I was like, wow, look how close he is to the ice.
It is beautiful to look at, and there's not anything technically wrong, but I think the judges want to see that you have absolute control of that landing, that you can still flow, but then flow on to the next thing. You're not kind of like continuing, and you're kind of muscling it, trying to get the edge to control. Because sometimes we've even seen, especially on the triple axel, but on other jumps too, he'll be so wild with the free leg that even sometimes the free leg toe pick will like catch on the ice, and then he'll trip or even cause himself to fall. And those are just silly little niggly errors that you don't think that would add up to much or cost him very much. But in this game where skaters like Javi and Yuzu are so far ahead, you can't donate those little those little errors. They add up.
Although I do have to say, I think if Shoma was perfect, he would still be off the podium. The major note I made about him was I feel like he should be able to win the bronze, but I think he's always held down in PCS, which I don't agree with. I think they're waiting for time for him to have more experience under his belt. But I actually think he's a skating genius for his age and his level, first year on the senior Grand Prix.
Yeah, he definitely has a level of artistry that I don't think we've seen from a man his age, really. I mean, he just gives it. And
he's for sure the future.
Yeah, he's definitely the future. And I think you could be right. I think he's definitely in the fight for the podium if others falter. I definitely think the judges want.
Patrick has a bad skate.
Yeah, Patrick has a bad skate, which we've seen, and if and the judges are not really enamored super high with Boyang. So they could definitely slot Shoma up there if he really delivers. And my final pick for men is Han from China.
Me too.
I have to admit that I am not his hugest fan, but I completely admit that he's an absolutely beautiful skater to watch in some ways. He has like probably some of the most gorgeous skating skills in between the jumps. His speed is just beautiful. I do think that he could work on outward projection to the audience.
Especially in the face.
Yeah, especially in the face. He gives it in the body, and he really points and he kind of emphasizes that. But I've noticed watching him skate a lot and just concentrating on the face that often he'll have kind of this plastered look on his face, like he'll be smiling or like, but it's weird. It's the intensity is not there. He's not really. It's not like reaching through to grab the audience, and I don't know if that's.
It's sometimes too much that it seems hokey pokey as opposed to like being part of the choreography.
Yeah. Let's see. He just needs to be. He just needs to be clean, and he needs to know how to put it all together. The PCS side and the technical side.
Yeah, he has the vehicles to make it this season because I like both his short and long program, and he's been more artistically expressive this season than I've ever seen in the past. That quad needs to be on though if he wants a chance.
His quads need to be on. He could stand to work on his spins. His spins are not really the fastest. He doesn't get the toe point at the end of his jump or at the end of his spins isn't the best. Sometimes his centering can be a little bit off. So he could work on that. They're just the little finer points of his skating. His carriage. Holding himself upright and stroking from one element to the next. These are all the kind of the finer points that a skater has to work on to really get to the next level. And I think if he works on that, plus keeping the jumps where they are, I think that'll really augur well for him in the next few years.
I enjoy watching Hanyu more than Boyang Jin, his teammate.
Yeah, I do too. Han has more. I don't know what you'd call it, like an artistic sensibility. He just he connects more to his music in a more genuine way. I think he understands what he's trying to convey in his programs. Whether he does that successfully or not is a different discussion. But I think as far if you compare the two of them together, definitely Hanyu has more advantage, at least on the PCS side. He has a more complete package.
Great. Then after Hanyu, I just put Dennis 10, big question mark, very hard to predict.
Yeah. Dennis 10 is kind of like my pick for if anybody of the other guys falter, he should be right up there, but we've kind of seen he's really struggled this year with consistency, and I kind of think it's damaged his standing with the judges a little bit. His scores have not been that fabulous at all, but we've seen that he can absolutely deliver beautiful programs that just make your eyes go open and really touch you. But he needs to bring the consistency. That's the game for him.
Cool. All right. So let's wrap up with the men's. I put 2 last bullet points on my notes here. I don't see the American men being good enough to retain 3 spots, just how it is. And I did not see any of the Russian men coming close to the podium.
As far as, any of the other guys, Maxim Kovtun, he has the difficulty in some ways as far as the jumps, but he doesn't get the the GOE on them. He's very stiff, and of course, in the way he carries himself, especially, he just doesn't have the refinement of movement that I think the judges want to see and the command of the ice. that the judges want to see, I think, to give the big marks. And as far as the Americans go, I think you're right on. And I think we're going to be really, really hard pressed to even get like, 6, 7. 6, 7 would be 6th and 7th would be the minimum that we'd have to get to retain too. And
I'd be jumping for joy if we got 6th and 7th place.
Absolutely, me too. Me too. But it's going to be an uphill battle. Max, I think, can get there. We've seen him with his Black Swan program that he's undergoing an artistic kind of refinement and a change. But then, at nationals, or at Four Continents, excuse me, he kind of chucked the artistic, changes out of the door and kind of reverted back to his old style a little bit. So, I don't know how that's going to go. I just don't think the judges are going to give him very much credit. And, as far as the other guys, I think they're a little too new. They don't have the international standing yet. I think, Grant could be a surprise. He has the potential.
And Adam, he's going to debut a very, adventurous long program. Yeah.
And I absolutely love his programs, and I think the judges kind of, want him to do well and like his artistry, but he just doesn't have the international standing or the technical difficulty, or has shown the consistency to really get him up there. So sadly, I think we're going to end up with one less spot.
Yeah, which is, it is what it is.
Yeah,
All right, so time to move on to pairs, and I think we're going to rush these last 2 segments because I'm on a lunch break here, so I think we have like 15 more minutes, Josh, so maybe like 8 minutes on each segment. Let's start with the pairs.
Okay. My first pick is actually, well, they're the big question mark because we don't even know if they're going to be there. Stolbova and Klimov. Their scores have actually absolutely been the highest this season when they've been skating, but Fedor's had reported so many injury problems with his back. He's been getting injections. We have no idea if they're going to even be able to be at Worlds, let alone be able to skate. I mean, their coach just recently put an interview out in one of the Russian, I think, newspapers or websites, and said, we won't even know if he's going to be able to skate until the last practice or until the competition starts, which is kind of putting a real late kind of marker on it. So there's sort of the mystery of the wild card in this whole thing. They probably have they have the marks with the technical ability with the double axel, triple toe, double toe combinations that they do, to really be at that top level. But we don't know. Second for me, Volosozhar Trankov. I mean, what a comeback they've had. They have been like they haven't even been gone. They're just doing amazing technique and technical things. They've actually increased their technical difficulty with some of their jumps, and combinations, kind of making it more equal to the pairs that that stayed in and didn't take a break. And I just think, with them being the defending Olympic champions, they have programs that have great style, although they're not exactly my favorite. The Van Helsing, like vampire-ish program this season, it has great style, and they definitely give off that kind of that intense angle that you need in a program like that. It's personally, it's just not my personal favorite, but they actually bring it in every way you'd want a pair team to bring it. So they're gonna be right up there.
Yeah.
My third pick, Swan Han, the Chinese. I think they had a big statement at Four Continents, skating how they did, even though they weren't completely perfect, but this season we've just seen a growth in them that I think we were all sort of waiting to see, but didn't know didn't know if it was going to be coming, sooner rather than later. But especially Wenjing this season, she's just absolutely blossomed. She owns her own femininity now, where I think in seasons past she was a little bit more immature, girlish.
Juniorish, maybe.
Juniorish. Didn't know how to be a woman on the ice. I think she's finally learned that, and I absolutely love their programs and their connection this year. I think that's really gonna, be a good thing for them going to Worlds. My fourth pick, Duhamel and Radford. You can't count them out. They have modern program. Duhamel and Radford, you can't count them out. They have the modern programs that I think really speak to a segment of the fans that don't really jive with the more classical bent that the Russians so often go towards. But we've also seen that they've kind of had problems this year. We were all sort of interested to see they just kind of steamrolled through last year, had a perfect year where they didn't get they weren't defeated, and this year I think we were expecting that sort of to continue, and then it didn't. They've had problems. They were trying to go for 2 quads, and that kind of didn't go correct. And for a while they had to table the quadlets for a little bit to get the throw triplets and the short down. And now they've reintroduced the quadlets because they say it's back and the timing on everything's well. And then for continents they looked like they were gonna storm through, but then
she got sick.
Yeah, she got sick, had food poisoning, that was an unfortunate thing. And they say that they're back into it now. And I think if anybody can come back from an unexpected bump in the road, it's them. They've got the programs, they've got the technical ability, they've got the artistry, they have the lifts, they have the spins, they have the unison and the connection that you want to see in a pair that really makes the judges and the audience respond for big scores. So I think you definitely can't count them out. Even though they're my fourth pick here, that doesn't mean that
they can move up.
Fourth place. They can absolutely move up, and they can even win it all. My fifth pick is probably a little bit unexpected, but it's Savchenko and Massot.
Okay.
Of Germany. Really, that's all on Aliona. I mean, we know Aliona is one of the stars of all-time stars of this sport. She knows how to sell every last move that they do. But Bruno has actually come up. I wouldn't say that he's on her level, artistically or projection-wise in any way, but he's lessened the gap between them, and I think it's really, and they've become more of a cohesive unit this year. I think finally, being able to compete and get out there, prove what they can do has really kind of opened them up and made them better. And I think that they're a bit of a wild card. Do I really expect them to medal this year? Maybe not, but I mean, if anybody can drag their partner across the finish line for a medal, for like a bronze or something, I think it would be Aliona. They have a refined quality, but a more modern quality than I think that she had with Robin Salkawi, her previous partner. I think that'll just it'll be interesting to see where they factor in. My sixth pick is Alexa and Chris, Scimeca and Knierim.
Yay! Team USA.
Yeah, Team USA. I just think, I would love to say that they could finish higher than that, but
it's a tough field, so it's not their fault.
Tough field. And actually, if you kind of look at the marks between a couple of the teams that I just mentioned, like Savchenko, Massot, Scimeca and Knierim, Seguin, Bilodeau, and another team, Yu Jin from China. Their marks, their season's best total marks are all within. I'm going to probably get this wrong, but I think it's like 6 or 7 points. And that's not a lot. I mean, that's, a level on a spin, or, you know, a little worse GOE on a throw, or a fall. I mean, a fall could completely take you out, or in anything. But Scimeca and Knierim, Alexa and Chris, they've just, you know, I love their programs this year, but it's all on Alexa's newfound fierceness. When she brings
The face in the short program.
that face in the short program, that tiger, she's got to bring that out. And it's also nice to see that Chris has really, to my eyes, tried to work on the consistency of his jumps. Does he still have issues? Of course, he still does.
It's been difficult, but he's made progress.
He's definitely made progress. I think it's just managing their nerves. I think the home crowd in Boston is going to be a real deciding factor. As to whether they can ascend to higher heights. Can they manage their nerves in front of the home crowd to really give their best performance? I hope that they can. I believe that they can. We'll just have to see how that goes.
Great. Cool. Is that all for your predictions?
Well, just one more for pairs. Seguin and Bilodeau, the Canadians.
Oh, my favorite Canadian pair.
I love them. Yeah. Their programs are just, they're so unique to them. They're not trying to copy, anyone's style. They're not trying to be, the most technical or the most artistic. They're not trying to cloak themselves into any kind of mask to make them more noticed. They're just being who they are.
Yeah.
And they're just having a style that really speaks to them. And, even it goes back to their short program a couple of seasons ago. Was it last year? The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, I think it was. I might be wrong on that. But
I don't remember.
You don't remember. That's okay. I think their programs are unique. They really speak to their connection as a team. They don't do everything. They don't beat you over the head with, wow, that's a huge quad twist like Alexa and Chris do, or amazing lifts, or even the best ice coverage across the ice. But they're just consistent. And they have a great connection. I think that'll really, speak well for them if any of the other top teams falter, and that's just going to be the question of the day.
For sure. I like that they're not trying too hard. They're not trying to be anyone else but themselves. I think that's really in their favor because she doesn't have the best of lines or stretch, but I still like watching all of their lifts. And they're so happy.
They make you feel at ease, is what it is, I think. They don't make you like, oh my gosh, she's going to fall from the top of that lift. That lift's going to go down, or oh my gosh, she's hanging on to the edge on that throw landing.
They're trying something too difficult. I don't know. Yeah. That's another thing I worry about.
Yeah, because sometimes, especially with some other teams, the Chinese team, I won't probably say you and Jen, they do things. Just to the limit, highest, farthest, and sometimes it goes great and it's beautiful, and sometimes it just goes completely off, and there's like hard falls, and you're just like ugh. So with Charlie and Julianne, their sense of command of the ice and their consistency, I think is going to be what could potentially get them higher standing.
For sure. So with me, I actually had Tatiana and Maxim in first place. I think they have reputation going in their favor, and they're going to feed off of their momentum. They had a huge win at Europeans, leading by 22 points overall. I think Sui and Han will be the silver medalists. They're my favorite Chinese pairs team. I think they're so dynamic, and the issue of both of them being so short, I don't think is much of an issue now as it was in the past. So I think that's going to be okay. And then just like the ladies, I put it battle for the bronze. I don't know who's going to get the bronze medal, but every pair we already
Battle
mentioned.
Royale, we
Yeah,
could say that.
for sure. So, Josh, I'm actually running low on time, so here's what I'm gonna do. I think a lot of people want to know your opinions on dance, so how about you like type them out to me, and I will put them in the
Oh,
description of this video.
okay,
Is that
sure.
okay?
Yeah, we can do that.
Sounds good. All right, Josh, thank you so much for being in this video with me. I really appreciate it. Same with most of my viewers.
Thank you. And just thank you for the opportunity. I hope I wasn't too much of a bumbling idiot, and
No, you
sorry
were
with the
perfect.
distractions, outside going on. But we powered through. And I thank you so much for the opportunity. I just love the opportunity to be able to talk
I
skating and
know,
give
right?
my opinion, whether it's received well or not.
Cool, me too. All right, so thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.